Howdy, and welcome to another episode of A Quantum of Tempest. I am Sam, and I'm back again with my lovely, beautiful, awesome, amazing girlfriend Rebecca, who's been in a few other episodes before. She did the Moonraker laser video, and she also did the Skyfall Snow Globe up there as well. And now we're in a new series called Will She Like It? It's her and I watching all the Bond movies in order. And she writes down some notes, thoughts about the movies, some different aspects of them, and we're just here to discuss them. We, just for clarification, for clarity, she has seen the first four already, and then we decided to do this after the fact. So we went back and we rewatched Dr. No, and that's what we are going to be doing today. And it shouldn't be too long, but I guess it's just going to be a discussion of her thoughts and mine for the movie that I've seen umpteen million times. But I guess we can just go ahead and get started. So, what was the first thing that I asked you about the certain aspect?
How does Sean Connery stack up as James Bond?
Okay, so obviously she doesn't have anything to compare to, but I told her while thinking about it, basically to think about, like, in her head how she imagines James Bond should be. And the result was...
Sir, I've never seen any other spy movies, really.
Mission Impossibles.
2 of them.
We watched all of them.
Did we watch all of them?
Mm-hmm. At least, well, maybe not the newest one, the one with Henry Cavill.
Watched a couple.
But we watched 3 or 4 of them at least.
But, I don't know. Looking at it from the fact of it is a 60s era movie too, it definitely fits with, like, what was going on history-wise for it, so I feel like he stacks up pretty well in that aspect of it all.
So do you think that you're saying maybe he's
Dated?
a stereotypical 60s man?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
How do you think he acted as a spy?
Very spy-like.
That's very intuitive.
But it fits with the technology that they have and how, modern technology has allowed a lot of things to be a lot smaller, so it's a lot easier to hide things and to transport things. Where you have this ginormous Geiger counter that is huge, and there's no way you're going to slip that past security, so they put it in a diplomatic pouch and fly it there.
Mm-hmm.
Where now you can just, put it in your pocket like a cell phone.
True, that aspect is there of him not being able to. You got to look at it through a 60s lens, though. You can't look at it through today's lens, because obviously we would be able to determine those things differently today, and that ginormous Geiger counter would obviously be obvious today, but through a 60s, looking at it through a 60s lens, how do you think he accomplished the mission, like, as a spy? Like, what you think a spy would be? How do you think that he went about doing his mission? Like, first with Strangways being killed and the secretary being killed, and that leading into a series of events that led him to Dr. No.
I think for me to look at that, it's kind of like, because I even made a note of something where I felt like parts of the movie were very choppy, like that, where there wasn't like a really good transition from one thought to another for certain things.
Okay.
So I kind of think that some things they did very, very well on that. Definitely like the whole blood packet thing. Granted that's all they really had back then, but that was definitely, plays into it all very well. Where at least they actually used it and didn't just try to like pretend like it happened. You didn't see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
You're talking about when they
rolled the secretary.
When they roll her over, and they're talking about her blood group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the bloodstain on
On the
the
rug.
bamboo-looking
Yeah.
carpet, rug carpet thing. Yes.
Okay. So that's the spy aspect of it. What was the next thing on the list?
Overall fashion of the movie.
Okay, fashion. So in terms of, well, I don't know what you wrote. She has a whole. Let me have it.
No.
She has a whole binder right here, a whole
Not binder.
spiral notebook of notes. I didn't look at them, but so I forgot the order of what I asked her. But so I told her mostly like how Bond wears the suits and things like that. But I don't know if she wrote anything overall about anyone else in the movie.
Cover your ears.
But-
Sean Connery's hot.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, he is. He was. He's.
Is.
Well, he passed away. He was. Did you know that he was actually voted like the world's sexiest man or something like that, like 1989? And by that point, he was already like 60 something years old. Did you know that? Like People Magazine or something like that. Like when he did like, I think it was the Untouchables. He was in that. Yeah, he was around that time, or Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He was voted like the sexiest man alive around that time. Anyway, side note. Yeah, he.
B-roll film.
He's like I said earlier, it's the whole the women want him and men want to be him, and I think in Dr. No, a lot of the earlier Bond movies, I think that he definitely embodies that. You haven't seen it yet, but you'll see later on when you get to Diamonds Are Forever. It's like almost 10 years after this, and he kind of let it go a little bit. It's not the same. Like he has a shirtless scene in that, and it's pathetic compared to Dr. No. But that being said,
But he was like 30. He was born in like the 30s.
Yeah,
So he was like 30, 32 when this movie came out.
Yeah, he was early 30s when he made
So
this.
that's 10 years. He's in his 40s at that point.
Yeah. So we've discussed how hot he is and his body. How about the fashion, which is the question? I mean, I guess that could be though. I mean, him in the suit or the tuxedo at the beginning when we first get introduced to him, he's a very good looking dude.
He wears suits. He wears nice suits. They fit him. They work.
That's true too. I was paying attention to that this watch through, like how the fit of the suits to see how baggy and stuff they work.
But different era, so the suits are gonna fit differently. I think if you did like a comparison of like all the James Bond suits throughout the entire 20 something movies,
25 movies.
25 movies, they're all gonna be different to fit the era that the film is being done in.
Yeah, and you get to like the some of the newer ones with Daniel Craig. When we got there, his suits are like shrink wrapped on him. They're super duper tight. And I think that's a sign of like the late 2000s and early 2010s. But also, I think that was Daniel Craig's decision. But anyway, so.
We can talk about the girls and the jewelry. I liked the jewelry.
And I didn't notice any of that. Except for maybe it's not jewelry, but the knife that Honey wears on her hip when she comes out of the water.
Not jewelry,
It's not jewelry,
that's
but.
a knife. That's a knife.
Yeah, right. So many other movie references in this. Okay, was that all you wrote on that one then?
The fashion as a whole is definitely very 60s with like the colors, the patterns, like the shapes of some of like the dresses and everything, and even like the jewelry cuts out, which is kind of weird considering I liked the jewelry.
Like the at the very beginning with the three blind mice. Do you remember when that girl's when they're walking across the street, and that girl with the giant hair like this wide?
That wasn't hair. That was like a bale of hay or something.
No, she's walking across the street. She's got it looked like hair. And
No, it's not hair. It's like wheat or something like that.
You're not talking about the girl later on where she actually is carrying the basket on her head.
You can go look it up.
I'll have to double check that. I thought it was just a big old hairdo. I'm like hardly even a shot here.
It's not her hair.
Okay. Well, either way, yeah. Either way, the hair is still much different, and it is bigger than now.
Mm-hmm.
But, uh, what was next?
Location and how they looked.
Okay, so that goes into. I asked her about the locations of the movies, and that kind of goes into like a deep dive on the cinematography of the film itself. And like, obviously, this movie takes place mostly in Jamaica, so obviously, you would think that as a filmmaker, you would want to show off the location as much as possible and show the beauty of where you're at. Do you think that they succeeded in this movie with showcasing Jamaica at the locations and things like that?
I think in certain aspects, yes, where like they needed to show areas or show the ocean or things like that. They definitely did a good job on that. Sometimes I felt like they could have showed more of it, you know, or they tried to cram out too much into a scene, like in the bar scene.
When he meets Quarrel?
Yes. Yeah. It seems like there was just a lot they were trying to like pack into that scene with the bar and the dancers and all of that. It just seemed like maybe if they had less dancers, you kind of maybe see a little bit more of the decoration of it all. Now I get, you know, they were allowed bar is the perfect place to have that kind of conversation because no one's going to be able to overhear you.
Yeah.
But less people maybe love music.
A lot of, I think most of the interior locations in the movie, though, are on a soundstage in England.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
filmed, like if it's filmed outdoors or if it's an outdoor like establishment shot or something, that's obviously on location. But that bar, I think I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure that was a studio location.
Yeah, but it was something where they could have, you know, maybe brought some aspects or maybe like to show other parts of it, even though it is on a stage. You know, they're not filming on the location of it. But like, I felt like the beach scenes were really good. Some of the scenes were kind of entertaining in the sense of like when they're running on the sand, he decides to like kick the sand to try and hide their footsteps. Like they're going to be able to see them that far out. But it was very bit of a comical relief in that moment. Like, let's just kick sand.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that, I've always thought that too. But he's running. They split ways, right? Him and Honey go one way, and Quarrel goes another. Mm-hmm. So and he kicks up the sand over their feet print. So either Quarrel doesn't, or you just assume he does off screen because Bond does. But Quarrel isn't a spy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point of even showing that if Quarrel wouldn't do like you would see that there's footprints on the beach.
There's no way they could have seen the footprints with how far out that ship was. But it was a bit of comic relief of just watching him kick the sand like, just hide, man, go. Mm-hmm.
I think of like another movie reference, 101 Dalmatians. Remember when they all cross the street and he uses the big leaf to cross the... Okay, sorry, that just came to my head real quick. Mm-hmm. I think the locations are beautiful in this movie. I think it showcases Jamaica pretty well. There's other movies where they go to a certain location and it fails miserably. I think this movie does pretty good. Some of the interior scenes I think are quite obviously fake. The bar one is one I don't know for sure if that was actually real or not. But like M's office obviously is in Jamaica, but then
that's not supposed to be in Jamaica.
Yeah, that's on a sound stage and things like that. But one of the things I like about that is a lot of the establishing shots are wide shots where you can actually see the oceans, other islands, the sky, which if you notice too, I noticed it on a lot of recent watch throughs. It's cloudy. Did you notice it was like overcast most of the movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just didn't know if you noticed. But aside from that and being kind of gloomy, I think that they did a really good job.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. I think maybe the gloom of it all helped with like maybe the glare of the ocean and everything too. That's probably one of the reasons why it's always like that. Or maybe it was a season when they filmed it.
Yeah.
But either way, it's pretty.
Okay, what was next?
The Bond girl.
Okay, so Honey Rider. So you'll find out later on in some of the movies where there's throwbacks to her coming out of the water in a bikini, or just or things like that, or where she's setting the mold, the Bond girl mold going forward. Sometimes they're damsels in distress. Sometimes they can handle their own.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, what did you think of her in the movie?
I mean, I definitely like the fact that she's a bit more of a fighter than a woe is me, come help me. You know, I definitely liked that.
Yeah, I think that a lot of in the film itself, she's kind of a damsel in distress, and like she ends up being literally chained up and stuff like that, and Bond saves her. But she is still very capable because she's talking about how the guy was basically trying to assault her, and he was stronger than she was, but she got him back with his comeuppance and put a Black Widow spider under his mosquito net and like just let him slowly suffer and die. And she's got a knife on her hip. She's capable. She's a capable woman. They don't show it a lot in the movie, but you know it's there as a character. Does that bother you that they don't show it and she is kind of a damsel in distress in the movie, but you know that she actually is capable? Like, do you have to see it to believe it, or can you just be told that the character is XYZ and go along with it?
Well, I think it also has to do with how the character does. You know, like, okay, yeah, you see her, she's coming out of the ocean, and she has that knife on her hip, which is a diver's knife, which has, you know, a little compressed air in it, so you press the button, it's supposed to launch at a shark. So, like, you know, that's a very dangerous knife to have. And then, you know, when they're having dinner with Dr. No, you know, she gets all ticked off, like, and almost tries to fight them, like, taking her off scene. You know, so you can see that she is a very, like, capable person, but at the same time, like, would have been nice to maybe, you know, see her smack somebody around. I don't know.
You'll definitely get that with some later Bond girls for sure, but
you know,
in that scene, I wonder if she, because that's when Bond is asking for her to, like, she doesn't need to be here, and Dr. No says, I agree, take her away. That's obviously Bond, as soon as they take her away, he gets the bottle of wine. He's about to, so
but
it
was
was
also
obviously
using it as a way to get that, to be able to try and hide the dinner knife.
The knife as well, yeah. And that it was all staged to try and escape.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if she knew that that's what that was, or if she genuinely thought, like, geez, he really doesn't want me here. And like she just told him, I'm scared. And now she wants to be by him, and he's saying that he's going to protect her. And then they're basically, he's like, yeah, go away.
So. I don't think, like, given the time, the 60s of it, and how the film was set up, I don't think he would have told her that, because there's no guarantee on how she would react to it.
No, it definitely wouldn't have been told. It was just in his actions of saying, you know, there's no point in involving the girl at this stage. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like...
Do you think she was catching on to what he was doing? Or do you legit think that she was thinking, no, why do I have to leave?
I think it's a 50-50. It could go either way.
Okay.
There's not enough, you know, information in the movie to kind of say one way or another whether or not she knew what he was going to do, or if she was, you know, legit had no clue.
Either way, you know that obviously he cared for her. He did. A 1960s man admitted to this girl that he just met that he was scared. That's saying something, and so I think that
it can also be a comfort, though, at the same time. Like, if you're scared in a moment and somebody you're with is also scared in that moment, okay, you can at least you know you're scared together, you know, in that moment of it all. So it can be a comfort thing. So it could have just been him trying to comfort her into, yes, this is a scary situation. I'm scared just like you are.
It was definitely used for like he wasn't just shoving her aside like I don't care about you kind of thing. It was he. I mean, I guess you could say he was kind of using her as a distraction because he grabbed the bottle of wine. He was trying to fight their way out of there. So I don't know. I don't think that he was disregarding her per se. I think he was maybe using her, and maybe she knew and she was going along with her. Or maybe she didn't. Who knows? But either way, it's not like he's just flat out disregarding her and like you don't need to be involved in this conversation kind of thing. There was purpose behind it, asking her to leave because he had that plan through. So what was next after that?
The bad guy.
Okay, Dr. No. What do you think about Dr. No? There's not much to ask, I guess. What, like, it can be anything from how he looks to, you know, a lot of Bond bad guys tend to have some kind of distinguishing feature that, yeah. So yeah, for him it's the claw hands.
Claw hands.
But it could be my old claw hand. Yeah. I don't have the thing on anymore, guys, by the way.
Nice segue.
It could be his plan, anything like that, or how he interacts with Bond, or anything like that. What do you overall think of Dr. No as a whole? And you can pinpoint certain things if it comes to mind.
He's definitely like not what you expect when it comes to like bad guys when you first get introduced to him, you know. And I'm not talking like the creepy scene where like James Bond is like sleeping, he comes in and like picks up the sheet with his hand and like I'm not talking like that. See, that was creepy, by the way. That was definitely a creepy bad guy moment. But you're not expecting when he comes through that door to have dinner, you know, this tiny, skinny Asian man. That's not what you're thinking you're going to have. Yeah. That is not what you're expecting to see. You know, it's almost like you're expecting to see, like, in my mind, I was expecting to see, like, I don't know, like a mafia godfather, like, size of a man, you know, not...
Like a kingpin?
Yeah, it's almost like what you're expecting, you know. Now, clothing-wise, I didn't really have anything in my mind on, like, what the character would be wearing, but definitely, you know, not a skinny dude. Not expecting a skinny dude. I'm, you know, expecting kingpin size kind of man. So, especially with, like, how big they kind of made the hands for him. So, definitely wasn't a fan of, like, the monotone lack of facial feature, lack of facial, you know, no smiles, no nothing. I'm just going to talk like this, and you're not going to see anything that's going to be going on. That's very boring to look at.
I can see that, yeah, actually.
I was not...
I wonder if a lot of the... You know, that guy actually is an Asian. And to make him look Asian, in here, they had, like, little prosthetics to fill in his eye to make him look more Asian. And maybe because of that, he couldn't have a lot of eyebrow expression, so he kind of had to be. But, I mean, as an actor, I think you could still use your eyes and your mouth.
Unless that was part of the character where they didn't want him to...
Yeah.
Which, I mean, given, like, you know, when he talks about, you know, like, the background of him, you know, the father being a German, and so I guess maybe that's why he's kind of like that. But definitely wasn't, like, a fan of just the lack of voice flexions or any of that. I don't like monotone characters. It drives me nuts.
What do you think when the first words he says to Bond when he comes out, when he's like, $1 million, Mr. Bond? There's some inflection there. You were wondering what it cost.
No, I don't think it was I think it was more of a tone change.
When they're actually at dinner? When they're talking about the villain scheme?
Yeah, I feel like for majority of it, he is very, monotone, and he's not changing the, it's staying where it's at. There's no high, there's no low. It's all just meh.
Do you think part of that is that, and I said it to her off camera, that I really think that the back and forth between them in that scene at the dinner table after Honey goes away is a very intelligent conversation back and forth, and they're kind of like poking each other back and forth, like trying to one up each other and things like that. And even Sean in that scene, Bond, I guess, use the proper, we're talking about Dr. No and not the actor, so even Bond in that scene is well, they're both calm, first of all, but also Bond is kind of a little bit monotone as well, somewhat.
I think his any kind of monotone he has, though, is he's trying to keep his accent under wraps. Because he lets that accent slip out throughout the whole movie.
Thick Scottish accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shut up. I think I think, because if you notice, like in the movies, when that slips out, he goes to a very monotone moment for a few lines. I think it's almost to like kind of reset himself. So I think that might be one of the reasons why he does it. But it's not an entire conversation. It's, one or two lines where Dr. No is just...
Yeah, he's very flatline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that, I've always just thought it was just him being, for lack of any kind of better term, just an evil dude. Talking about his evil scheme, and he's just delivering his spiel to Bond, and he doesn't have to have any kind of inflection. But now that you've mentioned that, I did, after the fact, I can look back and play in my head, and he was kind of monotone.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely, where you're talking about, I feel like whenever you hear any kind of bad guys talk about their evil plan, they're like, they get so excited about talking about it. They're like, and...
Although that'll come. That comes in some later, even Bond movies. It doesn't even have to be Austin Powers or anything. But that they get the mustache twirling. They get that.
Yeah.
They get off on explaining their...
Yeah, and I feel like
scheme.
He should have had something that was telling you, like, he was super excited that, like you said, he found somebody that he could have this back and forth with. Obviously, like, he's surrounding himself with people who can't have that kind of conversation. You think he'd be excited to have that kind of conversation because, like, everyone's just, like, terrified of him. And Bond isn't terrified of him. Mm-hmm. So why just, not get a little excited about that? Why just, meh?
Maybe that's just the character of him. That's how they wrote him for the movie. Unfortunately, I don't remember how he is as a bad guy in the book. That being said, it's tied for my favorite Fleming Bond book, and I think what I'm saying right now is I'm being a bad Bond fan, and I should probably go back and reread this book because I don't remember how he was in the book. I remember certain scenes in the movie that are in the book, but I don't remember how he is portrayed as a villain in the book at all. Like if it's the same, if he's monotone in the book, I don't remember. But
yeah, I personally like my bad guys to be like, like I like my bad guys to be bad guys, and not just. Yeah. I want to hear how excited you are that you're a bad guy.
Yeah, if it's their devious plan and they're passionate about it, and they want to shout it at the top of their lungs to the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he has somebody he can tell his plan to, and he just doesn't care.
Well, he does. He does say he does because
it sounds like he doesn't.
What's
care.
The line he says? Doesn't he tell Bond, "You're the one man capable of understanding."
Yeah, you think he'd be excited about that, about finding somebody, but he's not. He doesn't. You can't hear his excitement. I want to hear how excited he is that they found an equal.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
So.
Was there anything else that we had?
The music.
Okay. Yep. So I will go first on this one. Actually, I paid attention to the music quite a bit on this watch through, on this viewing, and I was actually disappointed. I think that some of it is disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the Bond theme.
It's at weird times.
It's at very weird times, like when he's just driving in the car, chilling, just
like
doing his
why?
thing. Yeah,
You
I
could have
think
had anything
it comes-
else.
it's not, it is also the first movie, and they haven't gotten the
Oh yeah, they're still trying to find it, but still,
they
you
haven't
could've
gotten
had-
their rhythm yet. But it does. It comes later in the movies where it's placed much better. But I think that the theme could have been used in different parts of the movie where
Mm-hmm.
you think it would be played and it's not, and it's flip flopped, and also I think sparingly.
Yeah,
They
I feel
used
like-
it too much.
much.
I think
Yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 times,
Mhm.
like doing a real Bond-esque moment or something like that. So I didn't care for that. And then I also thought, in some of the other Bond movies that are still in the 60s, the sound recording itself is better. This movie is incredibly tinny.
Yeah, but that could also be because of, how much they had to go into it. So,
Like-
I mean, I tried not to look. See, I told you it was going to go off.
Yeah, but she did. She told me it was going to go off. The clock goes off in almost every video that I make now, it seems. Anyway.
So I think that they were trying to find, you only go into a movie so much, and it's probably pretty expensive to film in Jamaica at some points. So, that could just because of the budget of the movie.
Which was only $1 million, by the way, in
In the
1962.
60s,
Which
a
is still
good
nothing.
chunk.
That
It's
compared to
60s.
today, that's not a lot of money. Even
No.
if you account for inflation, that'd be trying to make like a blockbuster movie. I don't know what the inflation actually would be, but for probably well under 100 million.
Yeah,
I can
so-
guarantee that. So
Yeah, so they were on a budget, so I tried not to think too hard about it. Like when he's walking back into the hotel and he gets the room key, and the receptionist is like, "Oh, you also had a telegram." It was kind of really hard at some of those scenes where he's talking to the receptionist throughout the movie, where it's almost hard to
The
hear
music
that.
was too
Yes,
loud?
the music was too loud.
so that would have been like the mixing where they
Yeah.
tone the music down or bring the the voices up.
But I did make a point of, I thought there was one more part where they did a really good with the music and what they were going for when that spider's crawling up him.
Mhm.
You could definitely sense the dangerousness of
the
that
tension
spider.
and the anxiety, which you
Yes.
can see in his face.
But then they went really funny with it, and with him.
Do you,
I thought that was
Okay.
kind of funny with him beating the spider.
So do you genuinely think that is comedy?
I thought it was a funny moment in the
Okay.
movie to add levity to the situation of, because you don't know what kind of spider it is. I mean, they kind of
It's
hinted
a
a couple.
tarantula.
Well, they kind of hinted a couple of different spiders throughout the movie, though.
When? The first time you see it is when
Yeah, you
Dent
got-
is at the island and he says, "Go to the table," and he picks it up, and it's just a tarantula.
Yeah, but I thought, wasn't it?
The only other spider reference is with the Black Widow later on with Honey.
There was another one. No, when
No.
yes, there was, when Bond is talking with the police guy. When they first get into the spy's house that is missing. They're talking, I can't remember what kind of spider, they're talking about a spider in there.
I don't remember, but either way, you can
yeah.
tell it's a tarantula.
But I don't know spiders. It
Okay.
grosses me out. I didn't want to
Yeah.
watch that scene. Ugh. But no, I thought it added levity, and it was kind of funny in that moment because it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure you got it the first time, but how many of us just keep hitting the spider because it
I would
twitches or something?
I would keep going.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of funny. I thought that was a good levity to the situation. He does have James Bond does put in some good puns throughout it, when he's getting in the boat and he talks about being a clay pigeon.
Yeah,
That's
I
fun.
love that. That's such a good blink and you miss it. Little, what would that be called? One-liner, I guess.
So that was kind of funny.
To take it back for a second, I am probably in the minority, and when I watched this a while back, 2 years ago with Mom and Dad, they laughed at that. him in this. And I think what makes it funny, like looking from the outside in,
flawless?
is the music that goes with it. Ding, 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 the music. I think if the music didn't do that and it's just him hitting it, I think it would have a different effect. That being said, I'm probably in the minority. I don't think that is funny. I don't. I think that he's just genuinely in danger, and he's doing what a lot of us would do, and that's you would keep hammering that spider. I think it's, unfortunately, I think, like we said earlier, the music in odd spots, I think that is what makes the scene funny to a lot of people. And I could see that, how it would be funny. But to me, it's not. I don't take it that way. It doesn't hit me that way.
So, kind of funny, but at the same time, you're kind of like, you're an idiot. I said it, through the whole movie, he was so worried, and he was sniffing his drinks about being poisoned.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he's in Dr. No's, like, evil cave, and he just drinks the coffee. He doesn't sniff it. Like, he sniffed, you know.
And he poured it for honey.
Yes. He didn't think to, like, he sniffs the martini that's made from when he first gets to the hotel room. Then he sniffs the vodka when he pours it, and he's like, no, and then he opens a new bottle. But then, you know, he pours coffee, drinks it, doesn't think about it, and then when Dr. No hands him a martini, he sniffs that. Why not sniff the coffee?
Yeah, that's a very good
You
point.
dum-dum.
It's a very... I don't remember where that would be when that scene was filmed, or... like,
What order?
yeah, in what order. But it does seem somewhat out of character. Like, he even says, here, take this, really loud. He's like, because the whole place is probably wired for sound. He whispers it to her. So if it's wired for sound, in the 60s, they didn't really have, like, the cameras and stuff like that like we got right now. So it's like, yeah, there might be microphones, but there's probably not cameras. They're not going to see you drink the coffee. So why would you assume, just because you're on Dr. No's island now, in his captivity, that he still wouldn't do something? Like, why are you... I think that was a very...
Dum-dum moment.
To go back to like one of the first questions about him being a spy, I think he does very well in the movie, except for that. That is one thing, and it's repeated. They almost hit it over your head with it on him, like all the stuff with the briefcase and the hair on the door and sniffing all the drinks, and he's trying to see if someone is following him, which they are. The three blind mice just keep trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Clay pigeon. Yeah. So, which that's almost the next scene. Like, you got him saying, I'm tired of being a clay pigeon. He meets Honey Ryder, and then...
he drinks the coffee.
Yeah, so why would... like, did you forget what you just said?
Yeah.
2 scenes ago. Yeah, it's but that also could have been a writing thing, too, and maybe they just forgot or something like that. It could have been who knows?
I don't know, but he did sniff
But
the coffee.
it is kind of like... I would not necessarily call it a movie mistake, but...
He didn't sniff the coffee.
We can just say it's a lapse in judgment of him as a character, as a spy.
Bad spy.
Yeah, in that moment. Because it didn't just affect him either. Honey was also drugged.
Yeah, and then she's just like...
she falls over.
that poor girl. That had to hurt her neck. Oh, shush.
Was there anything else that you wrote down?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I did like how, so going into it when I watched it the first time, and I had no idea why what the importance of like the double O was. I did like that they explained that the double... Stop. My hair's not a toy.
We got cats bugging us, by the way, on both sides. So if you heard one of them yelling or you seen us reaching down, both cats are being very invasive in this video. And here's one of them right there.
Because he keeps playing with my hair. So I did like that they explained what the double O means. I definitely like
at the beginning,
yes.
when he's getting his briefing in.
Yes,
Said,
so that definitely helps somebody who has no idea what it means.
He does not like to be held.
I could be the bad guy.
Yeah, right. You need to wait like 4 movies and that will be a thing. Except
so
he's not a white cat.
So you're saying what I need to do is dye him.
Yeah,
white.
We can dye.
And then in 4 movies I can sit here and hold him and pet him and go,
Yep.
And be a bad guy.
Yep.
Stop playing with my hair.
Okay. So, was there anything else that you didn't write down that you had thoughts about?
Sean Connery's hot.
Okay, we're back to that. Yeah, Sean Connery's hot. So just overall, as if you could sum up the movie in roughly 2 or 3 sentences, how would you, without giving it a rating in that description, how would you describe it?
Playboy spy.
Okay.
Playboy spy and trying to think of how I want to describe him. Yeah, Playboy spy defeating an oddball bad guy.
Okay. So giving it an actual rating, let's do. You know, a lot of people tend to do 4 or 5 stars. Let's raise the stakes here a little bit. Let's do 10. Plus, it gives you more leeway because then you can do easier halves.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 10 stars for this movie, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. How would you rate Dr. No? I know you've already seen the next 3,
Mm-hmm.
so put that out of your head, and you can't rank it against any other ones yet. But just as what we just watched, which we did just watch this, guys, by the way. We watched it, and I set up the camera, and we recorded. So, having just watched this, how would you rate it 1 to 10? Overall, every aspect.
Well, looking at it from it being a movie made in the early 60s.
62.
I wrote it down. I don't just remember that. I wrote it down. In 62, which is also why I was able to remember how old Sean Connery was. So, ignore me. So, the fact that it's a 60s movie, you know, so a lot of things are definitely very different compared to, like, a modern movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't seen many 60s movies when it comes to, like, spies. I've seen more of the westerns of it. But I feel like in some aspects it was better than some of the other ones I've seen. I give it a 6.
Okay.
I feel like I hurt his feelings.
No, it didn't hurt my feelings. Your opinion is your opinion. That's fine. That's almost a non-passing grade, though.
Well,
because that in like school that would be a D.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's.
So okay, well, how would you put it this way, and we can end on this? What do you think that they could improve from this movie? And granted, they don't really hit their their whatever until Goldfinger. But what do you think going forward in the movies that they could improve upon overall? Obviously, every movie will be different, but to make that ranking higher for further movies.
I think making things a little more cohesive and not seem so blocky. So, like I was saying, like in the bar, right? They're talking about, you know, different things and what the missing spy was into and stuff. And they start talking about Key Island.
Crab Key.
Crab Key, yes, sorry. Crab Key. And, you know, you have that photographer take a photo. Well, that photo is a great interjection. That's fine. I didn't have an issue with that. But it was like, you know, he's like, oh, I have somebody that, you know, is willing to take a cyanide pill and have their arm broken. And then he's like, what about Crab Key? There was no, like, transition there. And for me, I'm not a huge fan of that because, like, well, you're not 100% sure that that A and B are actually linked, you know? So I felt like they just kind of jumped the gun and was like, oh yeah, no, they're linked and here's the proof of it because she's willing to have her arm broken. He took a cyanide pill. I think that would have brought it up a couple of notches because there was other places, but I felt like that was definitely the most prevalent one that like smacked me in the face. Mm-hmm. So I think if they had not...
So you think maybe that could be a combination of editing and storytelling? Where they can edit the scene a little different and also write it a little different so that way it plays out smoother.
It could have just been solely writing, or it could have been an editing at this point. Who knows how old that movie is?
It's funny that you mentioned
I think
that.
it's more of a writing though, with it being
I
a
think it is, too.
60s. With it being a 60s film, editing is a lot harder for 60 films than it is, modern films.
Which leads into we're still ending on this, but it's the same topic. It's funny that you mentioned that that scene, because it bothered me a lot in this viewing as well. I think Sean Connery is still finding his footing as being Bond, and throughout the whole movie, all his interactions with like the governor and Plato Smith and Dent, the way he's talking to them is so different than how he's talking to Quarrel and Felix when they're at the bar. He's so like he's angry. He's like, "Crab key, why can't we go there? What's so special about it?
Yeah.
Grab her, Quarrel, and the camera." He's so angry. He's very up and down. His character throughout the movie, like his portrayal, actually has like a lot of highs and lows. Like either they wrote him weird and he was just playing it how they wrote, or he didn't really figure out himself in the character yet, or I don't know what else it could be, because that's definitely not an editing thing. That's a portrayal, an actor portrayal.
But I feel like
it's uneven.
I don't want to call it anger, but like how upset he was when she took his photo. I didn't have an issue with that, because he's leaving the airport and she takes a photo, he hides his face. Well, she did it again, So, and as a spy, you don't want your photo taken. So I could definitely see his whole grab her, like you don't want that photo out there. You want to get that photo as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
So, and I felt like that was matched, when, he's ripping out the film from the camera and rips it. He doesn't rip all the film out. He only rips out, the last few photos and gives it back to her. So I feel like he, his frustration of having his photo taken was taken out on the film, and then he gave her back, because she says she's a freelance photographer, which is her life. He gave her back the film and the camera. She can save whatever, photos were on that film now.
Yeah.
Granted, she has to go back and develop them right now. Hopefully there wasn't, an entire roll left.
Yeah. But
I feel like he balanced out the anger of having his photograph taken with the 60s gentleman, okay, here's your life's work back.
Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty decent dive into this movie for technically a second time, but a very new viewing of this movie for someone who is still new to the Bond franchise. We talked about some pretty in-depth stuff there, so with a 6 out of 10. So that's fine. This isn't my all-time favorite movie either. It is one of, I should have looked at my ranking for this for myself, but I forgot what it was, but I think it's middle of the road for me. But well, there's From Russia with Love is next, and maybe that one can be higher for you. We'll see. Or maybe there's certain aspects that are better or worse or not. But either way, do you have any closing thoughts about the movie? No. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we will see you guys soon for another Will She Like It for the Bond series, with From Russia with Love being next. And this was another episode of A Quantum of Tempest. I am Sam. This is Rebecca. And I will see you guys next time. Stay shaken, not stirred.
Good luck and prosper.
Bye.